Losing weight and developing healthy habits is as much a mental game as it is physical. Many of the lessons I'll be sharing with you today not only help me finally lose serious weight, but also improve my mental health along the way. I'd like to start out my weight loss story by first sharing with you my weight gain story. Then we can dive into the 12 weight loss lessons I learned that helped me lose 70 pounds and find joy in the process. It all began when I first started working at a call center. I would sit most of the day and enjoyed unhealthy snacks and soda a bit too much. Not long after starting my new job, I met the girl of my dreams and ended up getting married in 2017. At that point, I was still on the fast weight gain track and ended up with a large dad bod weighing 270 plus pounds. In China, they have a saying called 幸福肥, which means happy fat, and it's a common thing that happens once you get married. But I took 幸福肥 to the next level. I was obese, and I tried so many different weight loss strategies such as low-carb diets, low-calorie diets, intense fasting, etc. Each method was very difficult to maintain. I'd find myself losing weight, followed by gaining it back super fast and in surplus. This cycle continued for many years. For exercise, I tried and failed many different workout programs such as Insanity. I'm sure many of you can relate to the ups and downs of losing weight and building healthy habits. It can be really tough to keep a positive outlook, especially when we focus too much on the end goal. For those of you struggling and watching this video today, please keep trying. One day you will have a breakthrough. It may be small, but it will happen. The past does not control your decisions in the present. You can create your own future. So moving on to 2020, my incredible son was born and I realized I had to be in better shape for both my wife and kiddo. I became very serious and signed up for a triathlon. I signed up for it with my two brothers. I also started a healthy weights challenge. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to see more on my dad bod transformation with tips and tricks to making health simple and sustainable. Now here is lesson number 1. Make yourself accountable and motivated at the same time. I love the idea of doing this sprint triathlon to keep me accountable and motivated. When signing up for the triathlon with my two brothers, I was extremely out of shape. That is not an understatement. Many doubts would go through my mind about whether or not I'd be ready in time, but I was able somehow to summon up enough courage to sign up for this race. This single action kept me both accountable and motivated to not give up when things got tough. Second, I had also heard about this company called Healthy Wage, where you can actually bet your own money to reach a certain weight in a specific amount of time. That sounds like a win-win. Not only could I lose weight, but also make some money or interest on my initial investment. And yes, making this big of an investment, monetary investment, was scary, but also very motivating. So by signing up for a sprint triathlon and Healthy Wage, I was given extra accountability and motivation when I felt unmotivated. So I highly recommend thinking of something. It doesn't have to be a sprint triathlon per se, but something that motivates you, something that would fill you with a sense of accomplishment once you finish it. It could be a certain lifestyle challenge or getting out and having a certain amount of steps you want to reach each day. No matter what it is, set that goal and then find some ways to keep yourself accountable. Lesson number 2 is to be aware of calorie consumption, but don't overstress it. Alright, so I probably tried 20 plus different calorie calculators to make sure I had the exact amount of calories needed to lose weight each day. I quickly found out that calories are not all created equal, with some calories keeping you fuller for longer periods of time. I also tried low calorie diets and low carb diets as mentioned before. Both left me hungry most of the time and I always kept running out of calories fast. Now don't get me wrong here, having a calorie deficit is good for weight loss, but try not to overstress it. For example, I have an idea of how many calories that I can eat each day, but I try to focus instead on consuming the right and best calories for my body, such as fruits, veggies, lean meats, etc. Now on to lesson number 3. When things get tough, take a large step back. Many times throughout my weight loss journey, I would feel down or even depressed. Sometimes the cravings felt too hard to resist. Taking a huge step back and going to a quiet, calm place can really help. For me, I love getting outside where I can take deep breaths of fresh air. After calming down and remembering my why, the cravings tend to fade away. I also learned that it's okay to sometimes have sweets or just have them in smaller amounts. Lesson number 4, being consistent most of the time is key. Too many times I would start out too big. I would try an intense workout or diet, and each time I would fail. I highly recommend starting small, super small. Find something achievable that can be accomplished on a regular basis. The key here is consistency most of the time with small achievable habits when first starting out. When working on building muscle, I literally started with 5 to 10 minutes, that's it, of floor workouts, but would make sure to be consistent. The fifth lesson I learned is that there are an unlimited amount of fresh starts. It's okay to slip up. Try not to be too hard on yourself. I am extremely hard on myself, but I learned throughout my weight loss journey that it's important to love yourself and to practice positive self-talk. When things get tough, go back to the basics. Think about things that you've done well in the past and focus on small, achievable goals. I've also learned the importance of absolutely not waiting for Monday to come around. Too many times I would put off my health goals until the following week. By having small, achievable goals, it actually made it much easier to start again immediately. A fresh start is always available. Lesson number 6 is don't require perfection. It's not going to happen. Getting out of the I've completely failed mindset is difficult and can still be a challenge for me. I've learned that we should not expect perfection of ourselves, but expect improvement. This also goes back to not restricting anything 100%. This makes cravings both more intense and binging more likely to happen. I know that whenever I would have tons of sweets or unhealthy foods, it felt harder to change. It's also important to love yourself and be forgiving if you make a mistake, and finding joy even if you slip up once in a while. Nobody's perfect. Lesson number 7, I love this one. It is exercise takes many forms. Exercising doesn't always have to be for a set amount of time or be a specific exercise or program. Now, exercise programs can be excellent and provide structure and accountability. What I'd like to emphasize, however, that it's important to be flexible. Back in college, I used to be a full-time employee and also a full-time student. I would be so hard on myself if I didn't get a certain exercise in or exercise for a certain amount of time. I definitely believe that it's good to have structure and set aside time for exercise, but life can get busy. So if I had a lot going on in a particular day, I'd make sure to try to walk more or at least do something, do anything to be in an active state. Another thing that really helps is trying to do exercises that you enjoy. Get creative. Going on an outing or playing sports with family and friends is just one example of an enjoyable form of exercise. Lesson number 8, when I say start small, I mean small. This tip goes hand in hand with tip number 7, exercise takes many forms. An example of starting really small is that I would go on a lot of outings with our kid or even just work on finishing our basement. At first, I wouldn't count these activities as exercise and I felt I needed to go on a run for a mile or so to get in a good workout, but I realized I actually was walking around and moving quite a bit. My body was in that active state, so I know I was doing something good. Another example is I didn't start running and biking every day to prepare for my triathlon. I would start with a 5 to 10 minute designated walk, then slowly work my way into a jog as the weeks continued. The 9th lesson I learned is to limit added sugar, bad fats, processed foods, and fried foods. Yes, it's honestly best to cut out these types of food, or at least for the most part. The truth is, and this is something I had to keep reminding myself, these types of food don't provide you with the necessary nutrition your body needs. So I try my best to limit these foods and only have them, if I have them in large quantities, as a cheat meal once a week. And when you start eating healthy foods instead of added sugars, processed foods, etc., the calories don't seem to matter as much and do not add up as fast as having, per se, a large hamburger with fries. Save that one for the cheat meal. Not cheat day, cheat meal. Lesson number 10 is to find alternatives. Focus on what you can eat. It also trains your mind to change the way you look at food. Instead of saying, I can't eat that, I would try to tell myself, I can have this instead. Here's a list I use while losing weight that helped me realize there are many healthy and yummy food alternatives out there. So I highly recommend writing down a list of your favorite alternatives and put it somewhere you can see it every day. I know the list I provided is more generic and I have specifics per category, and maybe I can go into that in a future video. Lesson number 11 is to beware of items labeled low fat. It's common to see these items in the supermarket labeled low fat. I found out that many times, depending on the item, it can be even worse for you. For example, reduced fat peanut butter lacks important healthy fats for your body. Instead, I use the no added sugar peanut butter. Anytime I see a food labeled reduced or low fat, I will make sure to do more research before risking my health. All too often, these types of items have more sugar than the regular product. And lesson number 12 is to build a healthy relationship with all types of food. It's important to have a positive outlook on all foods. Find foods and things that you love to eat, and also get creative and try new things. One thing I've tried recently that I love is hot lemon and honey water. It is both delicious and refreshing. Also remember that it's okay to eat unhealthy foods in smaller quantities or once in a while. Just work on putting more of the healthy foods into your body. So another weight loss method I used was actually intermittent fasting, which really boosted and accelerated my fat loss. You can check out my other video on intermittent fasting where I share more on how it really helped me see consistent weight loss. Now I want to share a quote that is both simple and powerful. It helps me remember that failure only happens once we give up entirely. And it's from Albert Einstein, and he says, "You never fail until you stop trying." If you are on your own journey of losing weight and becoming healthier, remember that I am rooting for you. Be flexible with your exercise, including when, where, and what type of exercise you do. Remember the importance of finding healthy alternatives to unhealthy foods. Focus on getting the right and best calories into your diet. They will give you more natural energy and help you feel fuller for longer. Start with small, achievable habits and work on being consistent most of the time with those habits. Above all else, love yourself and try to focus on these small wins. Until next time, you got this.